What's up? It's your boy Reemus, and welcome to the ChampSet podcast, the podcast for champions.
What's up, it's your boy Reemus, and listen, I'm the doubt killer, belief filler, the one that's going to convince you that you're a winner. On this podcast, we're a group of winners, and we do everything to get the win because to us, allowing a loss is a sin. This is the home for champions. This is the ChampSet podcast. And we're going to be dissecting on this video the performance of a great champion, versus the great challenger, which was the fight between Lomachenko and Luke Campbell last night. Now, Lomachenko won by unanimous decision, and en route, he knocked him down once. Was it twice? I believe it was once. He knocked him down, he nearly ended the fight in the late rounds, which is what I actually predicted. I predicted that Lomachenko would knock him out stop him in the late rounds, if not get a unanimous decision. Now, the performance that he put in was exactly what I expected, right? Even though a lot of people were saying, Luke Campbell's got bigger reach, he's more tall, blah, 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 all of these things. But I knew that boxing intelligence would beat the static, advantages, which is just stuff like height, reach, athleticism, all of this stuff. Intelligence beats it. But we're going to dissect that performance right now, right? So that you understand, and truly appreciate the magnificence of that type of performance where a guy does beat the opponent who does have better physical advantages, or other people call it advantages. I don't really call it advantages. I call it differences. But in that fight, it was, Luke Campbell, right from the start to the end. One thing I'll say about him is that he actually did put up a good performance, and that he was always trying, right? He was just always trying, and he actually made it. The judges scored it 119, I think, to one. He gave, what was it? He a lot of them. There was 3 judges. I think all three of them gave, was it 119 or 118? But they gave it to Lomachenko by a landslide, which I think was a bit far, just because on some rounds, even though the direction was always under Lomachenko's guidance and direction, it was Luke Campbell's work rate, and even though it wasn't his, he didn't have better strategy, right, and he didn't feel more comfortable. From what I saw, he was always throwing enough to make you kind of question, hey, who should I give that round to? Even though Lomachenko was always looking like the one who was dominating the fight, right? So I guess that's just personal opinion, right? Between like me or someone else watching it, or the judges, of course. So here's the differences in the fight, right? People said before the height and the reach would, give him good problems. And it did give him good problems, but it's not a problem that he couldn't solve, because again, boxing intelligence beats all of those physical differences, advantages, the differences to me. So one thing that Lomachenko did that was splendid and great was he was using head movement and defensive responsibility, and that to me was the difference between the fight, and it is the difference between a good fighter and a great fighter. Lomachenko, after he would punch, he would move his head. Before he would punch, he would move his head. As he's punching, he would move his head. Before, after, and during he's punching, he's conscious of keeping his hands up. If his hands are not up, he's moving his head. If he's not moving his head and he's not got his hands up, he's moving his feet. Something is moving him so that he's a moving target. If you watch the fight, go back, watch it closely. I have trouble breaking this, doing a highlight of this one, just simply because Sky Sports, they're kind of strict with their, copyright stuff. But I might put it up on Patron if I can. If you go back and watch the fight, you will see that even though Luke Campbell was throwing a lot, he was throwing, staying in the same place. That right there is the difference of why it doesn't matter if another guy has reach. It just doesn't matter. What you will notice when Lomachenko knocked him down, because he knocked him down, I can't remember, I think it was like this, I can't remember, but it was mid to mid late rounds. He knocked him down. What he did was he got inside of his reach. Oh man, and this just stuff gets me excited, because it's almost like no one else is really appreciating it. He got in, like, him, Luke Campbell trying to use and exploit his height, his reach advantage was the exact same thing that got him knocked down, because he threw a long shot, and then what happened is Lomachenko moved inside of it, punched him in that very moment, and caught him off balance. This is the stuff that makes a fighter. It separates him from the competition. It gives him the competitive edge. It gives him the ability to dominate these fighters that are actually good and putting in the effort, and they actually are trying to win. This is the difference between a guy who's average or skilled on a good level and a guy who's really, really skilled in a way that's going to have him remembered for the Hall of Fame. If you see the knockdown, even before that, he was moving his head and he was going inside. Every time Luke Campbell would throw a long shot, he would move inside of it, and that was his opportunity to throw a short punch. Spectacular to me because it was so short. He threw it like it's like he turned it over in a way where it wasn't so powerful, just because it's hard to generate that much power on that type of a punch when it's so short. But it was the fact that he threw it so quickly, reacted so fast. He caught Luke Campbell off balance and off guard mentally. And you see a couple times Luke Campbell got shocked because of that type of punch. So you see, again, we're highlighting the same thing. Luke Campbell's reach doesn't mean anything to Lomachenko's boxing intelligence. And I won't say it doesn't mean anything, but I mean, it's not going to be what makes the difference. This is boxing, so the best boxer will win the fight. Another point I'll make is the confidence that you could see between the two fighters as the fight was going along. Even though Luke Campbell was doing well, always throwing a lot of punches to at least give the judges something to think about, at least in my opinion. Lomachenko always looked more comfortable. He always looked more confident. He always had the aura of a champion, which is something I've spoken about in one of the last podcasts that I've done when he was fighting Anthony Crowler, is that he has a champion's vibe. Now, I didn't watch, when I was watching it, I saw the ESPN version, right? And I believe it was ESPN, and Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward was commentating. Timothy Bradley, I don't know what to me, he's not that much of a good commentator just on that fight that I was watching, because what he was talking about didn't make sense to me. He was saying that he was judging the confidence of both fighters, and he was saying that Luke Campbell's still looking confident. Wrong. That's wrong. He was not looking confident, at least compared to Lomachenko. He was not. He was still trying, but there was less hope in his fighting. There was less hope in his spirit compared to Lomachenko. You could see the difference between Lomachenko expecting that he is comfortable in this fight and he's going to win, and Luke Campbell fighting with a sense of panic, right? And a sense of discouragement. Now, the reason why I can say something like that about, even like I can say this against a fighter, because Timothy Bradley's a fighter and he was a champion, but I can say, right, he's wrong, because I study body language, right? So I can see these small differences that perhaps he can't see. I can tell you, like, we can go through it now. When Lomachenko got hit with a good shot, he actually still stayed right onto Luke Campbell. He kept his form, he kept moving. His body was still, like, you could see it almost wasn't phased. It was almost as if he didn't get punched. Now go back, watch when Luke Campbell got punched, right? And he got punched near the ropes. And this was a round in which Luke Campbell started it well. The one where Luke Campbell started the round well, he actually hurt Lomachenko. I believe it was Lomachenko flipped it around, and then the last half of that round, Lomachenko done well. You will see at the end, Luke Campbell slumps over the ropes. That is not a fighter who looks confident. No fighter that looks confident slumps over the ropes. You do that, your opponent is going to see, oh, he ain't believing. He's not believing. Even if he consciously doesn't read it and see it, his body will feel that guy he's withering. Now, I can see it because I study body language and psychology and stuff like that. So I notice small differences like that. When a fighter's fighting you, he's up close and personal, so he can see those things. He doesn't have to study body language to feel that change. There is no point in the fight where you saw Lomachenko slumping over the ropes, looking dejected, even for a split second. There was no part that I remember Lomachenko doing that. But there were many points that I see Luke Campbell doing it. So from my perspective, I would say what Timothy Bradley was saying was just wrong, in that he was going into the later rounds. Luke Campbell was still confident of winning the fight. He was not confident of winning the fight, but that's why I'm me. That's why I say I'm the best at breaking down the boxing mindset and stuff like this and the mental aspects, because I, for some reason, see this stuff, and even the guys that were champions before, they don't seem to see this stuff, because I just highlighted there was a difference between the body language. Also, one thing I would say is before the fight, this is just a quick thing I want to say, which ties into Lomachenko's belief of him being the champion, was the fact that he was fighting for the WBC vacant belt, right? And he had the other belts, the WBO and the WBA, right? And before the fight, Luke Campbell was holding the WBC belt, right? And it was weird because it's vacant, so why would he be holding it like as if it's his? Lomachenko grabbed the belt almost and tugged at it. And when he tugged at it, he done it with like confidence and assurance. Little stuff like that is what someone like me watches, and I see the other opponent's reaction. Luke Campbell was much more timid and soft, almost submitting to that action and just laughing it off to get rid of the tension. At least that's what I see. Now, I think I'm, right when it comes to this stuff, because then the performance correlates with my assessment of those type of actions. You see that that's almost how the fight played out. And this is why we say mentality, mindset, all of this stuff is an important factor in the fight. Lomachenko, to me, believes he's a champion, and it reflects in his training, his living, his being, his walking, his talking, his whole vibe. And that, to me, is going to express itself through him training better, him thinking better, him doing what is necessary to get the win, right? And it's like he makes the difference. Right, he makes the difference. And Luke Campbell did put up a good performance, but he, to me, fought like you could just tell Lomachenko was a step above. Now, the other, Lomachenko is unified champion now. He's got 3 of the belts. The other belt, IBF belt, is going to be fought for between Richard Comey and Teofimo Lopez. And everyone loves Lopez because he's quite exciting. Lomachenko himself believes that Lopez is going to lose, even though he said after the fight, I would love to fight him. But I want to know what you think, right? Who do you think is going to win that one? And do you think Lomachenko will end up with all of the belts? Right? So comment down below, let Reemus know. And that was a good fight. Comment on what you think the fight was like. Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Do you think Lomachenko was overrated? Let's have a discussion about it. So I'll see you on the next one. Stay focused. Let's get